Hello, friends. I hope you had a great week and enjoyed a peaceful Shantaras Sangeet all week. Last week, we concluded our discussion on various mood that a rag must represent. Now, let's talk about the next most important aspect or property that a rag must have: time. You know, the concept of time started with the Big Bang when the entire universe was created. Everything in this universe is associated with time. For us, the earthlings, time is associated with the rotation of the earth around its own axis as well as around the sun. A day is made up of 24 hours. All living things respond to this cycle of 24 hours. Each living thing wakes up at a certain time, eats and sleeps at a certain time. If you try to break it, your body or your internal clock resists it. For an example, a jet lag. All our activities are controlled by this cycle of 24 hours, and so are all the frequencies that a rag generates. Indian scholars and musicians studied the effect of various frequencies and time on human brain and assigned scales to various time of the day. Is this a proven science? Maybe not. Maybe not yet, but definitely it sounds logical, doesn't it? We will start our discussion on time association of rag from today. This probably will go on for a few weeks, so fasten your seat belts and let's get ready on a timely journey of North Indian music. Before understanding the time concept of the rag, it is important to know four more words. The first one is Vadi Swar. There is at least one note in a rag that is used more than the others. This becomes the note where you are allowed to pause and thus becomes the most important note of that rag. This is known as Vadi, the most important note of a rag, or the note that is used more often than any other note. Number two is Samvadi Swar or Samvadi Swar. Samvadi is very much like Vadi, but it is a little bit less important. But still, the second most important note of a rag. That is again Samvadi or Samvadi. Number three, Anuvadi. The other notes of a rag, other than Vadi and Samvadi, are known as Anuvadi Swar. Vivadi Swar is the fourth one. The notes that are not used in a rag are known as Vivadi Swar. Vivadi also means the one that destroys the beauty of a rag, but clever musicians may use it to produce a special effect in his or her solo performance. One scholar of musicology, Prabhulal Garg Vasant, describes these terms very nicely. He calls Vadi a king, Samvadi a prime minister, Anuvadi subject or a servant, and Vivadi as an enemy. Now, before we go into the details and I start explaining the time theory of North Indian music, I want to also clarify that many musicologists think that the time theory is merely an old illusion sanctified by a long belief. True that it has already disappeared in South Indian music. New devices today make music available to you all the time, thus making the concept of time in a way obsolete. The auditoriums can be lit to create whatever effect you need, but then there are others who still believe in the power of music, vibration, and the power of sun rays and follow the concept very strictly. I also believe that it is the conditioning of our brains. I was conditioned to think, or I was conditioned to believe in this concept in my early childhood. So this is a morning rag, so you should sing it in the morning, you should listen to it in the morning. So it's kind of, whenever a rag is playing, this brainwashing has always worked. So with keeping these two ideas, I decided to experiment a long time ago. Just with common people around here in Houston area, when I was going to the university, I played some music to a totally unfamiliar ear of North Indian music. I played a certain rag and asked them what they felt. They definitely defined the mood correctly. To my surprise, when asked about the time, most of them, like I would say 70% of them, were also able to associate those frequency with a certain time of the day. They could tell me that this melody sounds like the sun is coming up or sun is going down. Nevertheless, I find it very interesting, so let's go into detail about time concept. North Indian music divides 24 hours into two main parts. The first part, from 12 noon to midnight, is called Purva, which means earlier part. And second part, from the midnight to noon, is called Uttar, which means later. The rag that are performed in Purva are known as Purva rag, and the others are known as Uttar rag. An octave, as you know, consists of 8 notes. Let's now divide those 8 notes into 2 equal parts. The first part, Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, is called Purvang, where Purva means earlier, as I talked about earlier, and Anga generally means body part, but we'll take the meaning of part here. So Purvang means earlier part, and the other part, Pa, Dha, Ni, Sa of the octave is called Uttarang. Uttar means later, Anga means part, later part. Now, whatever we have discussed so far will make more sense. The rag that has Vadi Swar, the most important note, in Purvang, in the first part, that means Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, is known as Purvang Vadi Rag, and they are performed in the Purvang, means between 12 noon and midnight. The rag that has Vadi Swar in the Uttarang, which means from Pa, Dha, Ni and Sa, is known as Uttarang Vadi Rag. They are performed in the Uttar or the later part of the time, meaning between 12 midnight and 12 noon. Pretty interesting, isn't it? This is further classified keeping in mind the position of a note, Komal or Shuddha, with time. Here is how they are classified further into 3 main classes. Number 1, rag with Re and Dha Komal. Number 2, rag with Re and Dha Shuddha. Number 3, rag with Ga and Ni Komal. Today we will just get to know about the concept number 1, rag with Re and Dha Komal. These rag are also classified and named as Sandhi Prakash rag. These are the rag that are performed at dawn, of course before sunrise, and at dusk, right after sunset. Thus, Sandhi Prakash is divided into two further classes called Pratah-kalin Sandhi Prakash Rag and Sayankalin Sandhi Prakash Rag. Madhyam, Ma, plays a very important role in both Sandhi Prakash Rag. Well, that was probably a lot to absorb in a day. So, let us just talk about one of them today, Pratah Kalin Sandhi Prakash Rag. Pratah Kalin Sandhi Prakash Rag are early morning or dawn time rag. In this time period, Re and Dha are komal along with Shuddha Ma. For those who want to know the exact time, generally between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m., this particular time period is considered as Pratah Kalin Sandhi Prakash Samay. Samay means time. This is also known as Ratri Ka Chautha Praher, which means fourth period of the night. Bhairav, Ahir Bhairav, Jogia, Vibhas are just a few examples of Pratah Kalin Sandhi Prakash Rag. I would really suggest you to listen to the list of songs from the A Song a Day list today at various times of the day. Even though the list consists of all Pratah Kalin Sandhi Prakash Rag, please listen to it in the afternoon, in the evening, at night, and see how you feel. See if you get a feeling of dawn while listening to them, even if you're listening to it in the afternoon. As a demonstration song, I have a ghazal that I composed almost 20 years ago. Words for this poem suggest a late night or early dawn, and hence I have composed it loosely in Rag Ahir Bhairav. Ahir Bhairav uses Re and Ni komal. Dha is somehow Shuddha, which means it is not following the strict rule as we described. Ahir Bhairav uses Ga Shuddha, but I have used both Gas in this composition. In this recording, I have a guest artist accompanying me today on guitar and violin, my friend Ustad Azim Khan. Azim belongs to the family of musicians from Lahore, Pakistan, and who has accompanied many famous singers like Mehndi Hasan Khan Saab and Ghulam Ali, many more too. Azim has composed the musical arrangement and played it for this ghazal. You may be wondering what a ghazal is. So, just a brief description. A ghazal is a lyrical poem with a fixed number of verses and repeated rhyme. In future episodes, we will talk about different forms of Indian music, and that's when I'll cover a ghazal in detail. खून से जब जला दिया एक दिया बुझा हुआ, फिर मुझे दे दिया गया एक दिया बुझा हुआ. Please enjoy.
से जब जला दिया एक दिया बुझा हुआ, खून से जब जला दिया दे दिया गया, एक दिया बुझा हुआ, खून से जब जला दिया, एक दिया बुझा हुआ। दास्तान शब्द एक ही सिलसिला तो है, एक ही दास्तान शब्द एक ही सिलसिला तो है, सिलसिला तो है, एक दिया जला हुआ, एक दिया बुझा हुआ, एक दिया जला हुआ, एक दिया बुझा हुआ। महफिल रंगो नूर की फिर मुझे याद आ गई, महफिल रंगो नूर की फिर मुझे याद आ गई, महफिल रंगो नूर की फिर मुझे याद आ गई, फिर मुझे याद आ गया, एक दिया बुझा हुआ, फिर मुझे याद आ गया, एक दिया बुझा हुआ। दर्द की कायनात में मुझसे भी रोशनी रही, दर्द की कायनात में मुझसे भी रोशनी रही, दर्द की कायनात में मुझसे भी रोशनी रही, वैसे वैसे मेरी बिसात क्या एक दिया बुझा हुआ, वैसे मेरी बिसात क्या एक दिया बुझा हुआ। सब मेरी रोशनी ये जान हर फे सुखन में ढल गई। सब मेरी रोशनी ये जान हर फे सुखन में ढल गई। सब मेरी रोशनी जान हर पे सुखन में ढल गए, और मैं जैसे रह गया एक दिया बुझा हुआ, और मैं रह गया एक दिया बुझा हुआ। ये मुझे दे दिया गया, ये मुझे दे दिया गया एक दिया बुझा से जब जला दिया एक दिया बुझा हुआ।
Welcome back, friends. For a song a day list, I have picked songs that are based on rag that belong to Pratah Kalin Sandhi Prakash Rag, or Ratri ka Chautha Prahar, or fourth period of the day that starts at 4 a.m. and ends at 7 a.m. We'll start with Jago Mohan Pyare, a Lata Mangeshkar classic, followed by a comparatively new song from film Water, beautiful rendering by Sadhna Sargam under the baton of A.R. Rahman, Nayna Neer Bahai. Next, I have a classic from music director Naushad, lyricist Shakil Badayuni, and singers Muhammad Rafi and Lata Mangeshkar from film Leader, Ek Shahenshah ne banwa ke hasi Taj Mahal. This is based on Rag Lalit. Next, again a classic, sisters Asha Bhosle with Usha Mangeshkar, a duet, Dekho Bijali Bole Bin Badal Ki. After these 4 film songs, let's dive into pure classical music for the rest of the week now. Rag Jogia, performed by Pandit Venkatesh Kumar. And next, I have an upcoming sitarist, Mita Nag, performing the early morning rag, Bhatiyar. Friends, let's keep talking about the time concept of rag. We'll go through various time periods of the day, listen to different rags. This series is going to be a little bit longer than I had thought out previously. But I'm enjoying it and I hope you are enjoying it too. Thank you for subscribing, and if you haven't subscribed, it's time to do now. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week. Have a good week.